Okay, good Chodesh, everyone, and a good Erev Shabbos. Welcome. This is a special phone conference for the all those that are concerned and staff and people that are involved with the wonderful global chocolate company, Astor Chocolates. And it's prompted by the fact, like so many other concerns all over the world, businesses, wonderful businesses, have been severely hit by all the repercussions of COVID. So the right way to address such a situation is, it says in the pasuk, "Yehi chastecha Hashem aleinu, kasher yuchalnu lach." May your kindness be upon us, Hashem, in direct proportion to how we hope to you. When a person realizes that there's a direct linkage between a situation and the Rabbeinu Shalom and tries to up their game in Ruchnius, then that's the best way to better a situation. The Chavetz Chaim writes that one who benches with Kavana, muftach lo sheyehi parnasa berevach ubekavod kol yamav. Somebody benches with Kavana, they can be confident that their livelihood will be with plenty. Revach means it'll be plentiful, not tight, ubekavod and dignified kol yamav. So therefore, when we're trying to better the parnasa for so many people who rely on this wonderful company and the company itself, and making extra hishtadlus in the mitzvah doraisa of benching, it's a very big thing. There's only two tfilos, brachos, that are doraisa. Benching, it's three mitzvahs doraisa and one mitzvah dorabanan. The first three brachas are biblical, and the last bracha is rabbinical. It was made in Yavne. And Birchas HaTorah. Those are the only brachas that are doraisa. Now, what does it mean to have kavana? So you'll say, what do you mean? What does it mean to have kavana? I should not just say, but I should think about what the words mean. And I'm thanking Hashem that He gives it to me, food b'kol eis, in every season, cold ice drinks in the summer, hot cocoa in the winter, ubekol shah, and I could go to the refrigerator whenever I want, any time in day or night I have food. So that's benching with kavana. But Rav Chaim on the Rambam says that there's a first step in kavana, and that is to realize that you're talking to Hashem. And that's a very big thing. There are people that bench, but they bench to the bencher. And their relationship to benching is similar to eating a bowl of Cheerios. When you eat a bowl of Cheerios, you have a relationship with the bowl. And you might eat every Cheerio. There are people that bench, and they have a relationship with the bencher. They're talking to the bencher. And they're not focusing, that they're saying thank you to Hashem. That's the first step on working on benching. That I'm taking this opportunity to thank Hashem. It's like, somebody goes to Newark to take a flight to Eretz Yisrael, and he's on the plane for several hours, and he says, it's funny. I don't know, I don't feel that we blasted off. And he looks out and he sees that the plane was just taxiing the whole time the runway, and they never took off. That's how some people bench. They're talking to the bencher, but they never lifted up. They never focused on the Rabbeinu Shalom. So Kavana means first, and this Reb Chaim says this is a must. First, focus that you're talking to Hashem and saying thank you. After that, try to think about the meaning of the words. The Manchester Rosh Yeshiva would not, Rav Segel, Zech Tzadik Levracha Schusi Yogan Aleinu, would never wash unless he estimated that he'll be able to bench with Kavana. Otherwise, he wouldn't wash. He wouldn't wash in an airport because he said he's going to have to rush. If he's going to have to rush, then he wouldn't wash. If you have a day where you have some time, you might want to try to figure out what letter in the Aleph Beis is missing from benching. All the letters of the Aleph Beis are in benching except for one. The end of Fei. There's no end of Fei in benching. Fei Sofis. And the Knesset Yisrael says that's because all of the Malachei Kabbalah, the angels of destruction, their names end with an end of Fei. Ketef, Ketef, Af. And if somebody benches with Kavana, they're saved from these angels of destruction. By the way, since we realize that benching is Doraisa, that's why we should make an effort that when we bench, we should look good. Ramosha would always ask me for his hat. He would never bench without his hat on the head, because benching is Doraisa, it's biblical. So he gave it the proper cover. Now, they asked Rav Shach, Bameh harachta yomim, in what merit did you live long? Now Rav Shach, who outlived all of the Gedolim of his time and was vibrant into his hundreds, we would think that Rav Shach would answer, he was always learning, which he was. He was the great Rosh Hashiva of Panovich, the leader of Klal Yisrael, but he gave us something to sink our teeth into. He said he always benched from a bencher. See, when you bench from a bencher, the ois makimois, the fact that you see the words, it helps you have better kavanah. Also, I'll tell you another benefit of benching from a bencher. When you bench by heart, your eyes don't have a chelik in the mitzvah of benching. And you want your eyes to get a benefit from the school of benching as well. So therefore, bench from a bencher. Now there's, to emphasize how important this is, I'll tell you a story. A man came to Rav Shach and said to him that he's having a lot of tzaras, a lot of problems. What could he do? So Rav Shach surprised him and he said to him, I want you to be mekabel that you'll always bench from a bencher. So the man said, okay. And Rav Shach met him about 2 months later, and Rav Shach asked him how things are, and the man said, kum si, kum sa, not so great. So Rav Shach says, did you keep this, that you always bench from a bencher? So he said, most of the time. So Rav Shach looked at him quizzically. Rav Shach gave him a job that he should always bench from a bencher, so he said to him, most of the time? So he said, look, I was once on a plane, the last 2 months, I forgot my bencher, and I went around and I asked if anybody had a bencher, and nobody did. So I benched by heart. So Rav Shach said, how did you bench? He says, not by heart. So Rav Shach said, if you were able to bench by heart, you should have taken out a pen and wrote down the benching, and then benched from that writing. That's how important Rav Shach felt was benching from a bencher. Now, we're gathered here in order to improve the situation of the parnasa of our beloved company. You have to know we have a klal, kol hamispalol ba'ad chaveiroi, v'hu tzorech lo yisa davar hu nene tchila. Whoever prays on behalf of their friend, and they need it also, they're answered first. When we bench, and we say, Rachim no Hashem Elokeinu al Yisrael Amecha, and we think when we say that Rachim about Jewish caterers, who because there weren't simchas, they're suffering and they have no parnasa. We think about restaurant owners, that the lockdown put them, a lot of their business on hold. And when we say Rachim no Hashem Elokeinu al Yisrael Amecha, we have that in mind. And Val Yerushalayim Irecha, we think about Eretz Yisrael, that survives on tourism, and tourism was put to a halt. And then we say, and this is, the least of the problem, all those people suffering from corona, all those people that have become widowed and are orphans from corona, Rahman al-Islam. And we say Rachimna, and we have it in mind, so then Hashem says, oh, you have in mind others? I'll have in mind you. And finally, the smart person thinks about Olam Haba. Now, when do we have a fixed time in the day that we think about Olam Haba? It says Olam Hazeh Daimel Leprois Lefnei Olam Haba. But when do we have a fixed time? If you train yourself, every time you bench, you'll think about Olam Haba. Because we ask for it. Harachaman hu yizakenu limoisa Mashiach ulechaye ha'olam haba. Every time we break bread, we ask for our chelik in Olam Haba. So therefore, to come back to what we started with, Yehi chastecha Hashem aleinu, let your kindness be upon us, kasher yichalnu lach, in direct proportion of how we hope to you, in the schus of us working on better kavana in benching from a bencher, in the schus of us giving kavod to benching, and thinking that we're talking to the Rabbeinu Shalom, we should be zaycha to have parnasa, berevach, ubekavod, to be healthy and have everything wonderful. A guten Shabbos and a guten Chodesh.
Thank you so much.
You're very